One day when the country is no longer facing an economic crisis, or one day when the country is free of corruption, when we are ready to talk, when you are ready to sit down and talk about real-time issues that we are facing, we'll be able to sit down and talk about the amount of racism that most Indian people have towards black people.
So do my Indian parents finally accept my half-black children? Let's get into it.
Hi friends, I hadn't planned on making another video right now, but Indian people are coming for me in my comments. And, so I know I'm on the right track with what I'm saying. But what I want to talk about in this specific video is Indian people and anti-Black racism specifically.
Hey guys, welcome back and thank you so much for tuning in. In case you are new here, my name is Judy, and in today's episode we are going to feature racism in India towards the Black community and the Black Indians. In India, we have the Black Indians who are experiencing a lot of racism from their own community. And so there is this Indian woman who came on the social media to address this issue of racism in her community that got her community coming for her and dragged her. There is also another Indian woman in California from the United States who uttered a lot of N-words to a black woman, and by good luck, investigation was done and she was found. She was working in the bank. I don't know whether she is still working there or she lost her job. So guys, I want us to watch this video, then I'll come back with my commentaries about it.
Hi friends, I hadn't planned on making another video right now, but Indian people are coming for me in my comments. And, so I know I'm on the right track with what I'm saying. But what I want to talk about in this specific video is Indian people and anti-Black racism specifically. So whether this is within the country of India, or whether this is when Indian people immigrate to any part of the world, whether it be on the African continent, in North America, South America, wherever, Indian people have. And again, I'm not saying every single Indian person, but I'm talking about Indian people generally, our society, our culture, the belief systems that Indian people hold, etc. Whether you're talking to, say African students who study in India, which there are African students who are there, or whether you're talking about, say, Kenyans. There's a large population of Kenya that are Indian people that have immigrated to that country, or South Africa, or Canada, or, the United States, whatever. But Black people pick up on Indian people's racism because it is quite apparent. It's something that that is there. It's obvious. So I'm just going to give you an example of me, my family, and the Indian people in South Africa. When I grew up there, I spent the first 12 years of my life under apartheid. So we had servants, maids, cooks, gardeners, etc. And all of these people were Africans. They were Black people. And all of the Indians in South Africa had servants. Okay, they were all Black. Now, how were these servants treated? They were treated as subhuman. They were not considered to be human beings with feelings. They drank out of different cups. So Indian people would not share their table with the servants, who were an integral part of their household. They took care of their children. They drove them everywhere. They cooked for them. But they had to eat off of separate dishes. They could not sit on the furniture. They, say, for example, when we left our home and we traveled, so we lived in Pietermaritzburg, we traveled to Durban on the weekends, holidays, whatever. Our maid would come with us. She was not allowed to sleep on or sit on our furniture or sleep on our furniture, so she had to sleep on the floor. These are things that all Indian people did in South Africa. And now, I'm just talking about South Africa. I'm not talking about, say, when Indian people immigrate to other countries. But this is true even in first-generation Indians. because say if an Indian person had to marry a Black person, 9 times out of 10, that Indian person's family is going to completely disown the Indian person who married a Black person. Now, Indian people generally, they want Indian people to marry within their they want Indian people to marry other Indian people, and then they even go into like, well, they want the same caste, and they even have subcastes and all of this stuff. So but if an Indian person marries a white person or say an Asian person, it's not considered to be as heinous of an act as if an Indian person married a Black person. So this can be tied to the caste system because, like I mentioned in my previous video, Indian people are racist towards other Indian people. And some of this is based on skin color. It's not entirely based on skin color, but there is a factor that is, that is apparent in that. So Ava DuVernay made a movie called Origin, and it's based on Isabel Wilkerson's book Caste, which somebody just pointed out. And it's very difficult for me to talk about these very heavy topics in 10 minutes. So I can't cover everything, but Indian people are inherently racist as a culture and as a society. And then within that racism, there is a hierarchy. So yes, while an Indian society might be racist towards Western people, Western culture, white people, etc. Just like Vivek Ramaswamy making that comment about how, he made all these disparaging comments about, Americans. And he was talking about white Americans, how they're not as smart and blah, blah, blah. These are not uncommon things that Indian people say within themselves. I have been privy to these conversations in whether it's, say a friend situation or families or extended families or just in my Indian community. These are very common beliefs that most all Indian people will espouse. They will say things like, well, white people have no culture. Their food is horrible. They just go on and on and on. But when it comes to Black people specifically, Indian people have extremely racist views about Black people. And it doesn't matter how nice this Black person is, how educated they might be. None of those things matter. And that's why I say that a lot of Indian people, they align themselves with a very far right-wing kind of Trump ideology. So you might take somebody from, say, America who is a Trumpster, and they espouse all these very racist views. And you could take an Indian person, and in many respects, those views are going to align because Indian people generally tend to hold very racist views. It goes back to the caste system, yes, but it also ties into other aspects. Because as I pointed out before, there are the so-called untouchables in India, and Indian people are racist towards them as well. So this is all a very, these are complicated things, and I'm just trying to do my best to share these ideas because we are in terrible times right now in the United States and in the world generally. So I guess Indian people, if you guys want to come for me, come for me. I am not saying anything that's untrue. This is the truth, and I think it's kind of an open secret.
So, guys, that's it. You've heard whatever that Indian woman has said. The anti-blackness in the Indian community is so rampant. And it's very evident that Indians are so racist towards the Black people. Even in our country, it's happening. You'll find a situation whereby they'll come to your neighborhood to open a store, to open a shop, restaurant, and they want to operate it the way they want, to a point that they don't want even the black community to go to their hotels. It will be Indians only. And if you happen to land a job in the restaurants or the Indian shops, you will be working your ass off. You must be a perseverant person, because if you are not perseverant, you will not be able to work at the Indian shops or the Indian stores. Indians are so rude towards Africans. I've experienced this in my country, so I have an experience of whatever I'm talking about. You will be overworked, you will be exploited in those stores, and if you don't work, they'll not be paying you that amount of money that you deserve. At first, we didn't know about racism until the media came. We just knew that maybe these people are just rude towards us, but we didn't recognize it as racism. So by time when we started learning this about racism is when we realized that actually these Indians are racist towards the black people. Then there is also another woman who had a small kid. They went to the park to play because she's the only kid in her family. So she went with her mom to play outside. Then by good luck, by bad luck, they found two Indian kids playing there, I think 5 years to 6 years old. Then that girl tried to ask these kids if they can play together, but the two Indian kids refused, that they can't play with a black person. Like seriously. And imagine these two kids were black kids. You understand? Then I also had an experience when I was working at the Indian restaurant in my country. There is this Indian woman who touched my hair and told me that my hair is too frizzy. Otherwise, I would have been an Indian. I told her, no, thank you. I'm black unapologetically, you know. But Dr. John Clark has been telling us that we don't have friends. They don't respect us. So it's not our fault. And it's something which is happening. This racism towards the black people and even the Chinese are showing us racism. So there is this video of a black man I've been watching. He said that one day, if we have time, one day if we unite together, then we will talk about racism that is happening in the Indian community. I want to insert that clip so that we can watch together. That man actually talked so well, and he was kind of pissed off because this thing has been going on severally. Indians are so racist as compared to other community, and they are showing it publicly. Even the students who are going to India, the black students who are going to India to study, they are experiencing all this racism. It's only that they are in that country, so they can't express it so well because they knew maybe perhaps they might get deported back to their country before they finish their studies, you know. So guys, let's watch this.
One day when the country is no longer facing an economic crisis, or one day when the country is free of corruption, when we are ready to talk, when you are ready to sit down and talk about real-time issues that we are facing, we'll be able to sit down and talk about the amount of racism that most Indian people have towards black people. This might not be a popular opinion, but I know whoever's watching this video knows what I'm talking about. This thing has been going on for the longest time and people are not addressing it. Instead, we sweep it under the carpet. But it's been going on for the longest time. And I'm not talking about just the recent incidents that happened in Phoenix, the Phoenix massacre or anything. I'm talking about a lot of things. It's been happening for the longest time. How many times have you met one of your brother or sister or auntie or even your neighbor who works for Indians or who works in Makishini or my Indians? How many times have you heard them talk about how evil they are? How badly they treat black people? How much they see us as slaves or animals instead of human beings? This thing hasn't been addressed in South Africa for the longest time. People don't want to talk about it. I don't know, maybe it's because of the affiliation that the government has, or the former government, as they said, has with certain Indian businessmen and business people. But we need to start addressing the situation. I'm talking about a lot of things. Even in religion, ask our fellow black brothers who decided to take Islam as their religion. Ask them how the treatment is. from their fellow brothers in Islam who are Indians. Ask them about the treatment. Ask them about how much most Indian people would rather pay you through food, last week's food, instead of giving you like money, like as in real money. Ask anybody who works for Indian people how much racist they are. One day we'll be able to sit down and discuss that issue, that dilemma. We'll be able to talk about the disease, the hatred that most Indian brothers and sisters have for fellow black people. Like, I really don't understand this. I don't know. History people will correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as history books are concerned, black people, Indian people, colored people, we were all the same in the eyes of the oppressor, our former apartheid government. We were all the same. So I don't understand why most Indian people will be racist towards black people, because we are the same, guys. They've got the K word, we've got the K word. You know? So I don't understand why they need to be racist towards black people. It's appalling. It's distasteful. It's crazy.
Well, guys, you've heard whatever that man was saying. Do you know a comment I read there of an Indian person? He told that man that you are speaking nonsense, you need to go and see a psychologist. You see, you can't express yourself. You can't express the racism that is happening in the Indian community. If you do so, they will say that you are mentally ill, you need to go and see a psychologist. Like, seriously, it's happening, even to a point that the Indian women, if they get married to black men, they are getting cancelled by their own family. Let's watch this.
So, do my Indian parents finally accept my half-black children? Let's get into it. So last I left off, I haven't spoken to my dad in over a decade. I think the last time I spoke to him was in 2013. I don't need him in my kids' lives. He disowned me a long time ago, or I felt he disowned me, even though I felt like he wanted to communicate with me, but he didn't want to own up to the fact that he has half black grandchildren. He would tell people I'm off somewhere studying. The kids didn't exist. There's no pictures of me in this house. There's no pictures of the kids in this house. Anytime I would see one of his friends, oh, how's school? Bro, I'm married. But anyways, yeah, I don't need that in my life. You'll learn more about my upbringing with my dad and my stepmother in another video. There's a lot there. Anyway, so now let's get into my mom. I tried. Guys, I tried. And I'm like, okay, let's see if she changed. And I would use little triggers to see how she would react. There were 3 things that I'm like, wow, you can still do this to this day? So one was my 21-year-old hurt his Achilles in December. He got hurt. I told Instagram, Facebook, all of that. So my mom follows me on Facebook. So she read it. And I also told my sister, who told my mom. My mom writes me 4 days after it happened. And she was like, she wrote me on Facebook Messenger. She's like, is, Elijah okay? I was like, he's okay. He's in a lot of pain. She wrote me 2 days after that message and gave me a thumbs up emoji. A thumbs up. Okay, whatever. So I decided to visit my sister in Maryland, and because she just had a baby and I wanted to see my nieces. There's 2 of them. So I went there with my oldest daughter, who was her favorite when I was younger. She was literally like, give me her and I want to raise her again like she was her daughter, because, apparently she didn't raise me and my sister right. Yeah. Anyways, so I brought her to Maryland to see her grandmother because she also wanted to see her uncle and her aunt and all of that good stuff. And my mom, the only thing she really said to my daughter was hi. There was no conversation. There was no, oh, how's school? Or what are you doing? Are you working? There was no trying to get to know her granddaughter at all. And I'm like, that's crazy. You would think she wants to get to know her grandchild. Like, who wouldn't want to get to know your grandchild? If I had a grandchild, I want to know everything about that child. But yeah, she really wasn't trying to talk to that child. And it was very disheartening to see. Very disheartening. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm going to have to get to a part 2 because there's not enough room in this video for it.
Guys, colorism in India is so bad. Marriage is marriage. If you want to get married to any race, it's allowed. But now the colorism in India, the racism in India, it's worse. Even in my country, this colorism is a lot. You'll find that a man will tell you that, Judy, you are too dark. I can't date you. I need a girl who is brown, with brown thighs, not as black and dark as you are. I've experienced this severally at the university. I've been told that to a point that I was rejected because I was black. I was too dark, you know. So it's happening everywhere. Colorism, if not colorism, then racism. We are experiencing this. And if we can stop this, then the world can be a better place where we can all live happily, you know. So guys, have you ever experienced any racism from an Indian person? And if you are an Indian watching this, how is the situation in your country about racism? How are you treating the Black Indians? If you are a Black Indian watching this video, how are you experiencing or how are you having that relationship with other Indian community? Because they want to be so close to the whiteness, but they are not white. Indians are not white, they are brown. So anyway guys, I don't want this video to be long. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about racism in the Indian community towards the Black people, and the racism in Indian community towards the Black Indians. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, kindly give it a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't. I've just come to realize that YouTube is unsubscribing a lot of our subscribers, but I know with time we'll deal with all these issues together. So thank you so much guys. Until next time, see you on our next episode. Bye.